All right, in this video, we're going to be talking about class Osteichthyes, which the word Osteichthyes means bony fish. And so that is their characteristics. They have bony fish. This is a lionfish. Interesting story concerning the lionfish. They have a structure called endochondral bone. Endochondral bone is bone that replaces cartilage during development. We also have endochondral bone. When we are first developing, our bone is cartilaginous, and that bone becomes, or that cartilage actually becomes bone over the course of our development. A couple other things that they either have a swim bladder or lungs. The swim bladder is a structure that is used to give the fish buoyancy so they can kind of stay in the water column without having to constantly swim to like hold themselves in a place. Some osteichthyes actually have lungs as well, and they can get air or get oxygen from the air, but they still have to live in the water in order to live and reproduce. They have something called a bony operculum, and the operculum covers the gills. So when you look at the side of this bass here, you can't see its gills because it's underneath this operculum. And the operculum is attached to muscles, which can kind of fan the gills, which increases the efficiency of the respiration of this particular type of fish. There are two different subclasses of Osteichthyes, and one of them is called actinoptergyii. These are ray-finned fishes. Ray-finned fishes, their skeleton is completely ossified. They have a single operculum for their gills. Paired fins end in these dermal rays, which is that what you see here. So here's their fin, and you can see the little rays going out from it. This is typically what we think of when we think of a fish. Like if you go to the lake and catch a crappie or something, it is an actinopterygii. The limb, they have a lot of musculature for their limbs as well. Swim bladders used for buoyancy, like we talked about. Teeth, they do have teeth covered with enamel, and so those teeth are pretty hard. And their teeth, some of them are like what you think of with teeth, like sharp teeth for predation. So some of them are more for grabbing a hold of things and holding, so they have more of a raspy or sandpapery kind of feel to them. Their teeth, here's a picture of the ray fin. So here's their fin bones and those rays going out from them. They don't necessarily have to be hard, but they can be. There's a picture of some teeth. So those teeth, so weird. Anyway, so you get the idea. Teeth have a specific function. This one's probably not eating like flesh, but this one probably is eating flesh. So you get the idea. There's different kinds of teeth depending on the type of fish that it's going to be. And the next subclass is called Sarcopterygii. So sarco means flesh. Pterygii means fins. And so this is like flesh fins, basically, are lobe-finned fishes. So what does that look like? Well, here it is. So here's this is a ray-fin fish here, and the lobe-fin fish, notice, has actual bones in their arm. Probably arm is a better way of thinking about it because see how their fin has this big fleshy sort of thing going on as opposed to just being that flippy or that floppy thing. Here's a picture of one down here that I'm covering up currently. And so you can see it's more of a fleshy kind of fin there. Their fins have more connection to the internal skeleton, so they're going to be a lot more sturdy. And they have what's called a diphthcircle tail, which means that I think I have a picture here. Yes, I do. So we've talked about the heterocircle or the heterocaudal, and then this is the homocircle or the homocaudal, where it's the same. And the diphthcircle is where it ends in a point, as opposed to ending in this fanned out kind of fin like we would think of. The diphthcircle tail ends in this point. Most Sarcopterygii have lungs, and these fish are considered to be among the first links to early tetrapods. There is a picture of Tiktaalik. And so Sarcopterygii have a very, Tiktaalik is considered the first tetrapod or the link between tetrapods and lobe-fin fishes. And that's kind of the idea, because they were able to lift their heads up using their limbs, their pectoral girdle. They were able to use lungs for breathing air, and this serves as that link. Early tetrapods still would have been tied to water directly for reproduction and just being able to live, but would have been able to live outside the water increasingly, which is you see that with amphibians, and particularly after amphibians with reptiles that are not tied to water at all necessarily, but they're able to live outside of the water and lay their eggs outside of the water.